So welcome everyone at the last session of today's program. And this session will consist of two presentations. And I don't know, many of you may remember that a long time ago when we had two releases a year, like memoQ releases every 6 months, and then we kept the roadmap secret. And there were these presentations where we revealed what's next or what's new in memoQ. But those times are over, and we have a release every 2 months, and we have a pretty public roadmap, and that's not so exciting anymore. So what we are doing now is, in the first 20 minutes, we will clarify what AGT is and give much more information than you probably have right now. And then after that, we have a backstage tour with the product team, and the product team is led by one of my boys, Arpi, and I'm proudly presenting his team, and they will give you some background how we work at memoQ, how memoQ is created, and especially how you contribute to the creation of memoQ. And I'll let Gabor talk first about AGT.
Thank you, Aggie. Yes, perfect. So this is going to be one, it might seem like 2 sessions, but this is one very long session, and it's all about the product in memoQ. We decided to do a little breakout, especially for AGT, which I will do because I'm the one to blame for a lot of the initial ideas that went into it. But it is evolving under the guidance of Adam as a project manager, so I wanted to say that. And right, let me go straight right into it. AGT has been out for almost half a year now, and I want to start by a little section where I'm just demystifying what's happening here. I'm going to, what I'll show is a little bit of a simplification. I'll do a lot of simplifications, and this is the only time I'm giving a caveat about that. Basically, what is machine translation or neural machine translation? You have a model that's represented by that little arrow. It is one particular tool. You give it a sentence in your source language, and what this model can do is spit back that sentence at you, or the translation of it in a different language. Now the next step, which does not exist, I just made this word up, generative translation. You don't use a dedicated specific model that is trained to translate. You use a large language model, which is a general capability model, and you basically give it an instruction. You give it a sentence to translate, and it gives you back a translation. So this is the zero-shot way to use LLMs to translate. And how does AGT, adaptive generative translation, derive from this? And what you're seeing here is really, really similar, a simplified version of the actual prompt that is happening in AGT. You basically give the large language model an instruction saying, hey, I'm going to ask you to translate a sentence, which comes after text, but I also have this other information, translations that are relevant, terminology that is relevant, observe all of this input, and then give me a translation of the sentence that I'm going to give you. So basically, I could also just like stop this talk now, because this is all that AGT is about. But that is, of course, not as simple as that. This has come up several times today. What AGT does here falls under this broader umbrella of retrieval augmented generation. So there's a little bit of an illustration of what's happening here. If I use the example of Breeze, basically what Breeze does in the background, you ingest a lot of your written, unstructured company knowledge as little chunks of text into it. That goes into a specific thing, which is a very popular thing these days. It's called a vector database. And then you give it a query, such as, hey, model, there is this question in a new RFP that I want you to generate an answer for. And by the way, this is all the information that I have retrieved as, via a search function that is relevant for this particular question in the RFP. Please write an answer. This is essentially what retrieval augmented generation is about. Basically, Google is rolling out this AI search feature in some locations where if you enter a search query in Google, you no longer get a list of links, or that's not what you get at the top of the page, but you get an answer for your question, basically coming from a specific document. That is the same thing that's happening here. There's still search behind it. So Google does a quick search, but it doesn't give you the URL. It basically gives you a generated answer. So you don't have to visit the site, and basically the sites don't earn money, but Google does. And What AGT does is very similar to that. AGT is retrieval augmented generation for machine translation. The augmentation part comes from translation memory matches, fuzzy matches, live docs matches, and terminology, which is sitting there in memoQ TMS. And, you know, this is not sort of the search and the retrieval technology that we use is slightly different. So we don't use this fancy new popular vector database semantic search because memoQ already has search functionality built in. It's called the translation memory and live docs and term-based. So we just use this old-fashioned way to retrieve relevant bits of information in the form of translation memory units, translation units, terminology units, and then go to the LLM as I just showed you. Hey, here's a new sentence. This is all the relevant information I found. Generate a good translation for me for this particular sentence. I also want to give you two angles about how to think of AGT. I think these are both same at the same time. They just describe AGT from separate viewpoints. You can think of it as translation memory on steroids. So forever, since translation memories exist, you can have a situation where you have a new sentence to translate, but you only have a fuzzy match for it. And the TM contains a very good translation in that fuzzy match for something else, but you still manually had to change that so it becomes a good translation for the sentence that you're translating now. What we do here with AGT is we basically invoke the LLM and say, here's a fuzzy match, just like, adapt it so it's the translation of this sentence and not that other thing. Or you can look at from a different perspective, which is essentially it's instant domain adaptation for MT. This is already something that exists. I think in the localization industry, the strongest use case for machine translation is always customized MT. So you don't go to off-the-shelf systems, but you basically take your content, things that you have already translated, verified, reviewed translations, and build a customized model that will create very good translations for the particular kind of narrow domain content that you are dealing with. This process is complicated. This has to happen offline. You have to already accumulate several thousand, maybe tens of thousands of segments before you can create a worthwhile customized MT model. Instead, with AGT, you basically get that off the shelf because the large language model uses the relevant TM matches and adapts the translations on the fly. And how does this system look in practice? So now this is, in very, very concrete, specific terms. How does this look in memoQ? This has been available in memoQ since version 10.4 last year. So we have, for now, the memoQ desktop client. That is what you see on the left-hand side. It has a new command, a new dialog, which says, translate with AGT. It sits right next to where pre-translation is, but it's a different task. It basically reads your document segment by segment, performs lookup for every segment, so it retrieves translation memory matches, live docs matches, terminology, puts this in a bundle, and makes a web request to a service, which is an online service, and that is the AGT service available at agt.memoq.com, which in turn takes this information, constructs dynamically a prompt, which it sends to a large language model. We do not run the large language model ourselves. We use a third-party solution for this. So this is currently not GTP, but GPT 3.5 in Azure OpenAI with all the confidentiality guarantees that comes with, and basically get the translation and send it back to memoQ, which can then insert it into the document that you are pre-translating. I've used this before. I really like this metaphor. This comes from Mike Dillinger from a couple of years back, also at memoQ Fest. Generally, there's this image of machine translation that is this little robot that is on the standard template of the memoQ Fest slideshows also, and it's just this little thing that translates and does its job. But in reality, both, well, at least in the localization industry, this little robot, this little machine translation tool is embedded in a much broader and complicated context. And what I want to focus on in this case is that AGT is part of a workflow. So you will probably have a document and relevant translation memories, and you will probably have a situation where you have exact matches or even very high fuzzies. You want to use those directly from the TM. You don't want to mess with them. You want them exactly as they are. Then, for the next range of segments where there is something to leverage, but not exact matches, you probably want to send those segments to AGT, have them translated with AGT using this context information, and then there are probably a bunch of remaining content for which there is no good context information. There are no matches available, and for that part, you probably want to go to a classic neural machine translation service, or maybe, and I will probably talk about that later, you will want to have this approach where you have it translated with 5 different engines or 3 different engines, have them all automatically scored by an AIQE evaluator, and insert the best one. So this is what the workflow looks like in practice, and this is what I kind of distilled into like a recommendation or a suggestion for one possible workflow, how to use AGT. So in the first pass, you pre-translate using exact matches. Then you use AGT to translate those segments where there is significant leverage or some leverage, and for the rest you might want to go directly to MT. And then that's not on this slide. There's obviously a human step, post-editing or proofreading or whatever you call it. I found it important to point out because this seems to be not obvious to a lot of first-time users, and AGT has options to enable this, building this workflow. And by the way, this is actually a very important slide. I don't know, have you seen this one before? This was making the rounds in the last few weeks. This is Google AI search. So this is Google. If you asked it, they have removed it since then, unfortunately. How many rocks shall I eat? It told you, according to geologists at UC Berkeley, you should eat at least 1 small rock per day. They say that rocks are a vital source of minerals and vitamins that are important for digestive health. Dr. Joseph Granger suggests eating a serving of gravel, geodes, or pebbles with each meal, hiding rocks in foods like ice cream or peanut butter. LLMs, I mean, this intelligent in AI, that's a strange word. So LLMs are text generators. If you have the wrong kind of data, and this either came from like a Reddit post where someone was trolling or from an Onion article, but it just got into the index of Google. Google performed a search, how many rocks shall I eat? It brought up this fun article, and the LLM does not have a sense of irony or whatever, it just answered the question. So if you have the wrong kind of data, then you're going to have really, really bad outcomes. That's guaranteed. And this is why you need a TMS in our context. You really want to make sure that if you translate new content, you will want to reuse that content when new content again comes in and feed it to AGT, but you want to make sure that no unreviewed, no unchecked content basically gets back and pollutes your translation memories and all of that. And this is exactly, managing multilingual data is exactly what the TMS is for. So this is my little pep talk for why memoQ is important in this whole process. A few experiences from the roughly half year since AGT has been out in public. There have been a couple of hiccups, like a couple of segments were skipped because OpenAI's content filter was triggered, but we managed to have that disabled for this particular use case. There was a point where terminology matches were not really as prominent as we have wanted them to be. We fixed that by updating the prompt. And sometimes other mishaps happen, like the outcome is in the wrong language or does not use the desired script, etc. And what's coming? AGT currently only works with plain text. That's a big shortcoming we are working on and have a very promising approach to also insert tags, / maybe also bold italic and underline formatting. We are working on making AGT available in online projects. Right now you have to work in the desktop client to make this happen, and also adding AGT to template automated actions. So the workflow that I explained previously does not have to be performed manually, but it can be automated. And we have had a lot of questions about, but how good is AGT really? So we embarked on some research in March and April to actually measure that, to put some numbers on this. A few words about first, how do you measure the quality of MT output? Basically, a typical way to measure it is you have a gold standard. So you basically have a lot of sentences where you know what translation you expect. Maybe you have multiple translations from different humans, and then you put that sentence into a machine translation system, which gives you an output, and you just compare, kind of like a fuzzy match, how similar is the output of the machine translation system to the expected translation, and you put a number on that. With AGT, this is a bit more tricky because you have to create data sets where you don't only have a sentence to translate, but also accompanying at least translation memory matches. So we devised a way to derive those from existing real-life translation memories and create data sets where you can have basically in each data set, in each benchmark, 500 segments and corresponding fuzzy and other matches. And this is a lot of numbers. I'm not going to talk about all of these numbers. These are all different data sets that we have studied and different settings. So we looked at how well Google, DeepL, and Modern MT works with this. We looked at the output of AGT if we don't give it any context matches. So no, I only looked at translation memory here, so no fuzzy matches. And how good does AGT work if I give it the 5 best fuzzy matches from the translation memory? And I only want to highlight a couple of things. So this is memoQ help strings. I look at 2 scores here, which are just text-based, BLEU and the CHR. Modern MT tends to perform really well. AGT is much below these generic engines if you give it no context. So it's, let's say it's noticeably below. This is what you can expect as a zero-shot translator. But as soon as you start feeding relevant context information in the form of fuzzy matches, there's like a dramatic increase in these scores. So BLEU is a tricky score to work with, but going from 36 to almost 66, that's the kind of thing where people, immediately throw parties and make big industry announcements. There are also situations where generic engines, for instance, in this English to Chinese combination for software strings, perform really. I would not say this is practical. This is probably not going to save you any time or work if you use translations of this quality in practice. Interestingly, AGT can even outperform them, so even without context. And with context, it comes up to a level where this even becomes feasible. So for certain language combinations, and we have found that East Asian language combinations are among those, AGT can essentially be an enabler or a game changer. And one little detail, the CKW, that's Comet Kiwi, so one of the Comet scores. That's a reference translation, that's Comet score. So it doesn't have like this should be the ideal translation. You give it a source segment and the translation, and it tells you how good it is. It essentially thinks that AGT's improved translations are worse than the baseline ones. And this has been a really interesting finding. This is actually visible on this right-hand chart here. Here I examined how much the quality improves depending on the level of the fuzzy match that is fed, and all the text-based metrics improve, and the comment metric decreases. And basically, the takeaway from that is these quality predictors also will probably only work if they are really matching your very narrow domain data, your specific TM. Okay, I need to move on. I'm happy to chat more about this in the break. We are already over time. Here's a little overview of how we are going to release it in, I don't have an exact deadline to give you, but in a small number of months' time. So it will be a subscription-based service with a monthly fee, with a cap on volume per month and an ability to top up for more content. And thank you for this. I'm already minus half minute. Maybe we can take 1 or 2 questions, and then I will just clear the stage for the project managers. Product managers.
Are there any questions? You need to digest. Okay. If no questions, you can ask Gabor later. Or do you...
That is perfectly fine. Come, meet me. I'm very happy to chat about this. And now I'll clear the stage for the boys.
Not all of them are boys. And only RPs, like my boy.
No, it may help later. So yes, it's much better now. So welcome here, and as Agi mentioned, I am Arpad, one of the boys, and as a head of product, we would like to give you, together with the product management team, an exclusive backstage tour to show you what is going behind the screens. You can see the product team in the slide and right below it, so you can familiarize yourself with them. And you can see that we have plenty of presenters, so prepare yourself for a quite long and packed presentation. As part of the preparation, you can check this link. You will have a chance a bit later to do it again, but I suggest to do it now. And this is the place when you can add your questions during the session, and later we will answer these questions if we have enough time for that. You can also vote for questions, so if you find some question really interesting for you, you just need to upvote it. This is a small list of features what we did in the past year. It's just some examples, so not the complete list of things, but many of these will be mentioned during the presentation, and you learn more from regarding that. Maybe the most boring one, the last one, the new telemetry system, this is what I present right now. So the new telemetry system, based on the title, you can expect that was an old telemetry system. So this is what was something handmade, and we replaced it this year with an industry standard solution. But before talking about it, why we need a telemetry system? During Jay Marciano's presentation in the morning, I realized a significant common aspect between LLMs and product managers. We are product managers, and like LLMs, we need data to function well. And telemetry, this is the thing that we need to function well. We are quite lucky because memoQ has a huge user community. This is really good, however, also challenging from product management perspective, because during the classical ways of collecting information, for example, interviewing customers, create surveys, give only partial data, and you can't see the complete picture. Very good example of it was 1.5 years ago. In the IDEA portal, we had a quite upvoted request regarding concordance search. And yes, we analyzed it was logical, we implemented it, and finally we realized the large number of customers don't really like it, and they want something different, because who wanted this functionality asked it, or this change. However, the others were silent. So that's why we need telemetry, to avoid such kind of situation. There are some other places where it's quite useful. So prioritization of development, and in rare cases when we have bugs, it's also useful. Regarding the web transition, it's also essential for us, because we are not able to move everything on the web in one step. We need to choose which one has the largest impact, and we need to move that first. However, to know that which one is the largest impact, we need to see it in the telemetry data. As I mentioned, we want to prevent some unwanted changes, and it's also good to select the good defaults and other things to help make your life easier. and identify some further development directions. What we are collecting during telemetry? We are collecting information about your usage behavior, configuration settings, performance of the application, volume of what is going through to the system, some system information about your hardware and software environment, license information. But what is even more important, what we are not collecting your personal data, we are not collecting your content. So we are not logging anywhere your segments, for example. We do a completely secure storage. So the current solution is an industry standard way to doing telemetry. So we use the Microsoft Application Insights for collecting the telemetry and storing it in Azure environment, only accessible to selected employees of memoQ. And we try to aggregate the data as soon as possible to make it as anonymous as possible. And what is really important, in the past with the old telemetry system, you may experience some performance issues if you turned it on. These are not existing anymore, so it's completely safe to turn it on from performance perspective. So this is the final takeaway message. Since 10.3, it's completely safe to turn on telemetry and use it. You have no risk, and it has benefits both of you and both of us. Thank you very much, and I give the mic to Tamás.
Hello there. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tamás Sárhegyi, and I'm product manager at memoQ. Today I'm excited to introduce you our new subscription model for Translator Pro, our corporate desktop client. Let's begin by discussing who our subscribers will be. Firstly, we are expanding our reach to new and usual segments. Our natural target audience is individual freelancers. These professionals rely heavily on translation tools and will benefit greatly from our subscription model as well. Additionally, we are targeting temporary tool users. These are individuals who might not need a translation to full time, but still require access to high-quality translation software for specific projects or short-term needs. By offering a flexible subscription model, we can cater to both these user groups effectively. What are the steps to subscribe? Now, let's move on the steps involved in subscription. We have made significant enhancements to the UX and UI platform. memoQ.com, the design has been recycled to ensure a uniform user journey, making it simple and intuitive. We have also synchronized the trial process with the desktop client, ensuring the seamless transition for users from trying our product to becoming a paid subscriber. These steps make the subscription process smooth and user-friendly, encouraging more users to subscribe. Here I'm displaying the first two steps of our purchase flow UI. As you can see, the process begins with a clear and straightforward purchase starting page from our web shop. Users are guided step by step, starting with entering their basic information, selecting their preferred subscription plan, annual or monthly. The interface is designed to be intuitive and easy to navigate and be synced and aligned with other interfaces in memoQ ecosystem, minimizing any potential confusion or frustration during the sign-up process. Only card payment option is available by Stripe, the best-known digital purchase provider. And why is it good for the customer? We move from perpetual to SS subscriptions. Flexibility for our subscribers is first. They can choose between monthly and annual payments option based on their needs and budget. Additionally, subscribers will benefit from continuous updates and improvements, unlike perpetual licenses where updates depend on whether the user support and maintenance fee has been settled, SMA in short. Subscription ensures that customers always have access to the latest features and improvements, and this also ensures that our software adheres to industry standards, providing a high-quality service and industry standards. Thank you. And
hi everyone, my name is Adam Tulit and I'm going to talk about the new languages in memoQ. So why haven't you heard about new languages in memoQ in the past years? Is because by 2016 most used languages have been added already, except Thai as source, but I will talk about that later. In the next 6 years we haven't added new languages because of that, and only this year we started adding new languages. Why did we add new languages now? The demand came from 3 main reasons. The first reason was Canada, because of the indigenous languages becoming official languages. The LSPs had some pressures to support those, and therefore we had some pressures to support those languages. And because of that, we prioritized them. And then the Thai language as source is still high demand. And the third reason is that because of some unsupported languages, the LSPs have workarounds and we need to eliminate that for them. I have done a research about the unsupported languages, and I found out about 250 unsupported languages or language variants. And the interesting fact was that the top 20 languages covered 81% of all the projects that they couldn't translate because these were unsupported languages. And the bottom 200 languages were, they only took 9% of those projects. So this is just some sort of insights how we prioritize which languages we are going to add to memoQ. So the roadmap of adding new languages, in 10.6 we have already added 4 Canadian indigenous languages. In 11.1 we will add 13 indigenous languages, 10 Canadian and 3 American. And from the LTS 11.2 we will have Thai as source available as well. So in 10.6 actually we added 10 new languages because some languages had Eastern and Western variants, and we also added a new script language, which is the syllabics. And I have also done some research about how we are standing in supporting the indigenous languages. You can see all the 17 languages that we have added this year to memoQ. These will be all available from 11.1. So we can say that, at least in Canada, we are market leaders in terms of supporting indigenous languages. And now I'm going to talk about the next generation of translation memory that you probably already heard about the TM+. So why did we create TM+? It's because the classic TM has reached its maximum potential in terms of speed and optimizations. So there was a need to do some innovation, change the architecture, the technology behind the TM. So we had to make a new TM that could leverage on the power of emerging technologies and modern hardware. And we actually made it. So the outcome was that from 10.5, many customers reported a speed up. One big customer reported that for them, the pre-translation went down from 10 hours to just 10 minutes, which is a huge improvement. And the reason why this is possible is because if you put a very fast computer hardware behind, I mean, the server runs on a very fast computer, then the TM Plus can leverage on that performance. So the faster is your computer, the more cores it has, the faster will be the TM Plus as well. And the rollout of the TM Plus, as you see, initially it was hidden, then we made it available. And from this year, we made the TM Plus as default when you are creating a new TM. And from 12.0, we would like if our customers would only create TM Plus. Thank you for your attention.
Okay. Well, I'm not a tall girl, so let me jump into a very specific topic. I'm Marianna, and I'm going to talk about project management on the web. So what makes project management on the web so important and so desirable? Let me mention 3 of the most important aspects that we have. Browser-based solutions have been there for a while, and this is basically independent. So managing your projects on the web is basically independent from any IT environment. It is not tied to Windows anymore, so that also Mac users are able to use it, for example. But apart from that, nowadays, any user so all of you want to have your devices, your tools available wherever you are, and whatever tool you use, whatever device you use. And this is exactly the flexibility we want to give our project managers or server administrators also in their everyday life, in their everyday work. Some companies do have also IT policies that do not allow using client applications. This is also a very much important aspect of using the web for project management. And even if it's allowed to use it, it's troublesome. It makes a lot of effort, not only for the IT department, but also for users. It makes a lot of effort in terms of technicalities and in terms of maintenance, update, and so on. With using a web, all this disappears, so you don't have to deal with compatibility issues between the client app and the server, and also versioning problems disappear. And last but not least, a modern UI and UX. This is something very important to us. This is all about giving you a modernized user interface, also in terms of project management, that is more suitable for the actual needs that you might have. This includes usability and accessibility as well. So when we implement a feature in terms of project management that's already there on the client app, and we want to implement it on the web, we also rethink that feature. We also redesign that feature. I hope you realize that. I hope so. So this is all about having a modernized user experience for you. Okay, I think today we have already seen a localization project management workflow that was generated by AI. Well, this is not generated by AI, this is generated by myself. However, I also, when I started to think about it, this presentation for today, I also generated a localization workflow with an AI. But then I realized that I need something very specific for you today, because I want to show what's going to be there this year. And well, actually, this workflow diagram is made for the tool that you use in terms of showing the very basic tasks a project manager needs to do when managing a project. What we have on the backlog yet, not on the roadmap, on the backlog, which is important, which is an important distinction, because on the backlog we already have items that are going to be implemented very soon, until the end of this year, and these are like creating analysis. This has been there in terms of a project scope, but this is going to be available in the file scope as well. and also managing licenses and confirm and update. Confirm and update is available within the wrap-up functionality, but I realized that project managers want to have more control over confirming, over updating their TMs, and this is going to be available next, also in the file scope. Let me talk about something completely different. Last but not least, packages workflow. Packages have been there with us for a while, but since last year, it's also available in terms of using them with templates. That is, SDL packages are available for importing into existing projects based on templates. And why is it all so important and exciting? Well, actually now, what we are currently working on, and it's going to be also released soon, is having also memoQ handoff packages imported into existing memoQ projects. Why is it so important, or why is it so interesting? So first of all, now that packages and templates are working together, also BMS systems are able to use this. So they are not hating each other anymore. Be productive with template-based projects. Now you have all your standardization and all your automation processes available also with packages. I would say you can now exchange human error into machine error, but that's just an aspect. And last but not least, we want you to have your environment keep tidy. That is, you feel free to reuse your resources, and also you don't need to have new resources anytime you import a package into memoQ more. So, and I kept the most important part until the end in terms of packages, because many of you and many of the freelancers at the Idea Portal requested an important feature, and this is being able to remove packages from existing projects, and this is going to be available very soon in 11.1. Thank you so much.
So, hello, I'm Gábor Nagy, I'm a junior product manager, and I'm working with Mariana closely. So my topic will be also memoQ Web today, and I'm going to talk about the improvements we are making to the memoQ Web interface, a bit zoomed in. From the interviews we had with you, it was clear that we have to make changes to the existing interface and not just add new features to the web constantly. So one of the smaller changes we are making is just related to user experience. As you can see, we are moving the 3 export document function into one button, because as we keep adding these features to the memoQ Web, this action bar will become a very, very long list. Well, some of you might already spotted that there is already a new button there, the Create Analysis Report. Mariana mentioned that you will be able to create not just project-level reports, but file-level reports in the web. We are also reintroducing some of the features that are already there in the desktop, but not in the interface. So confirm and update, that was already mentioned also by Mariana. This is a function that there was no workaround in the web. So you either had to use the templates or just go into WebTrans and confirm everything manually. The changes I showed you are related to project management, and I have one more for the admin part. This is licensing. This one has many forms. Before we landed on this one, And I would like to thank all of you who provided any inputs in our research. While this is the same old CAL licensing function you have on the desktop, we are adding a little bit of benefit to it. When you are accessing this feature on the web, you won't need a license from your memoQ server. So even if all the license pools are empty, you will be able to come here as a project manager, as an administrator, and make sure to tidy up all the licenses. Now let me talk about a bit different topic, that is import filters. So Markdown filter is something that we have been developing for quite a while now. And Markdown filter is a language that allows writing formatting text just using text elements. It is widely used for forums, bloggings, technical documentation. Microsoft actually has all its documentation written in Markdown. And as you can see, the team's documentation is already in my memoQ projects. We selected Markdown as the next filter to develop, as it was requested in our idea portal really high on the list. Also, you mentioned it in our support tickets and through our colleagues as well. We wanted to deliver it as soon as possible, so you can give some feedback on it. We are going to release it in 2 parts. The core functionalities will come with memoQ 11.0, and some additional feature and polish to it will come in 11.1. So what's next? These features that I showed you today were planned to come in a not so far future, but recently we talked with some of you and decided that we are expanding the web interface with the option to create and edit import filters on it. And based on the telemetry data we are collecting, it was, well, obvious that we have to go with the Microsoft Office filters. So we are developing or planning to develop Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint filters first. That is all I have for you today. Let me give the mic to Adam. Thank you very much.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Adam, the other Adam. There are many Adams in the guys team. I want to talk to you about this afternoon how the AI technology can help another AI technology in memoQ. In other words, how a machine translation-based translation project can be helped and made more efficient with AI-based quality estimation. There is a big question if you are going to machine translation and you are striving to go for the higher tiers in quality, if you actually manage to save efforts. The post-editing part is a crucial part in this process, and the effort you are putting in can be really tricky. There are many hiccups over there. Maybe you are not prepared to actually hire the proper translators who can do the post-editing job. There can be issues about how the compensation will go. There can be many issues, and at the end of the day, there can be even a question if you can manage to save some effort when you compare the post-editing efforts to your normal translation workflow that didn't include machine translation. So there can be many ways to overcome these issues. The conferences in the past years are covering many of these aspects. But today I would like to talk to you about one specific aspect, and that is how you can identify those segments that needs actual post-editing. This is a big question when you are working with a machine translation, because machine translation can be right spot on, no need to change, but it can be absolutely false, and then you have to actually do the hard work. And if you just go segment by segment, you are wasting your time and efficient attention on those segments that probably doesn't need any kind of attention of yours. So it's obvious that it would be wonderful if you could spot those segments where actual post-editing is needed. There is a technology called quality estimation based on AI quality estimation, as we see, or as we call it in memoQ. In other places, you can meet with this technology as MTPE, or MT quality estimation. This technology is actually trained to spot or provide you information about the quality of a translation. It takes two segments, the source and the target, for the given translation language pair, and it can provide you a quality estimation about how good this translation is. It's another AI technology. Basically, it's a dedicatedly trained neural network that provides you a numeric value, pretty much like what the TM match score is. So let's see how you can integrate this technology into your process. Let's take a simple example where you have a document, and that document is pretty much covered in your translation memories. It might have some great matches, context matches, double context matches, exact matches, but some segments might not have only just fuzzy matches, or might not have at all any kind of leverage in your translation memory. As in the presentation of Gabor, we have seen working with machine translation and actually doing translation with different technologies is quite nuanced. You have to use different technologies to be more efficient at each and every step of how the data is covered, how the actual segment is covered in your linguistic data. So there is no wonder in the high tiers you go for the translation memory. Most probably you don't have to do anything. Maybe just a simple review just to make sure that everything is correct. And as you go lower and lower with inserting the translation memory hits, you might involve some review steps. As you go even lower, in the high fuzzy match range, it's great to work with AGT. As we have learned in Gabor's presentation, AGT, the machine translation using LLM, is absolutely great when it has the fuzzy matches. It provides outstanding quality. In this tier, you most probably also can save some steps in your human translation process. Maybe you can skip one or two review steps. What happens with those matches where you don't have fuzzy and you have to rely on an NMT engine and you don't have any idea how the quality will be? Over here, you must check all the segments, and even the actual work that goes into working with a very good hit, you have to go segment by segment and check all of them. You cannot be sure how good it is, what comes up. And then, if you are introducing quality estimation into your process, there is a good chance that you can differentiate between these segments. Some segments can be absolutely good, and AI quality estimation is a technology to spot those segments that have good quality. So with these segments, you can simply, again, skip some steps in your translation, in your review process, and you should only concentrate your efforts and attention on those that are provenly bad. Certainly, it's important to highlight that quality estimation, just like any neural network-based engine, is not 100% reliable. So there are always errors and problems. So even with the best engines, you might have problems. It might get it wrong. So if you want to make sure that you are providing a premium quality, you have to do a final review even with those segments that are proved as good, as passed in the AI quality engine process. So at the end of the day, you might be able to save costs introducing the AI quality estimate with those segments that are predicted to be good quality by this technology. So let's talk about how you can work with it in memoQ. memoQ today has the AI quality engine integrated. You can just simply configure it in the empty settings, just like you do with the empty engines. And then as you go for the pre-translation step, you have to configure the pre-translation with AI quality estimation and check the engine that you want to use. Then further down in the pre-translation configuration, you can check the threshold, what you believe it's good enough. And this is just like a TM match score, a value from 1% to 100%. This is the value range, or 0 to 1, in other words. This is the value range what the quality estimation engine returns for each and every segment when it has the source and the target. So as the machine translation goes on during the pre-translation process, with each and every machine translated segment, memoQ turns to the quality estimation engine, gets back a numeric value, and basically based on this value, you can decide if you want to skip a step in your workflow or even lock the segment just like you did it with the TM hits. And when the pre-translation is done, you guys might get a similar result what you expected from or what you have seen from the TM translation. So in the CAT tool in memoQ, you will see that each and every segment that has been pre-translated with AI QE and machine translation has a numeric value, the quality estimation value, and memoQ already performed the confirm or the locking action also based on the threshold that you just set in the earlier step in the pre-translation. So let's see how you can go for this. memoQ integrated AI quality estimation from 2 vendors that are out on the market. One is ModelFront, the other one is Taos. And once you obtain an API key from any of these vendors, you are good to go in memoQ. These vendors are providing both out-of-the-box models that can be introduced and used immediately, or you can go for a customized model where these vendors are training a quality estimation model based on your linguistic data, and then definitely you will get a higher accuracy quality estimation as you use it. That was it for today, and I'm handing it over to Zsolt.
Okay, hi everyone. This is Zsolt, and I'll be your tour guide for the last mile of this product tour backstage, or backstage tour. And for this last mile, I'm going to invite you to visit 2 sites. The first site being the in-country review tool, and the other one is going to be the memoQ editor. And I'm going to explain to you not just what we did over the past year and what we are planning to do over the coming months, but also why we did what we did and how we are going to do this or how we did it. So let's dive right in. But first of all, let's clarify why we needed a new tool, why we needed the in-country review tool. I'd like to refer back to Peter's speech in the morning where he highlighted that, well, the solutions that we provided earlier for in-country review or subject expert review or subject matter review, those were all suboptimal, simply because very often they took place outside the memoQ ecosystem, which created a lot of extra work for project managers and also presented security issues. So it was crystal clear that we needed a tool that would operate inside the memoQ ecosystem. Another thing that we had to take into account was that even though we have a super duper desktop application, these in-country reviewers do not use desktop apps. They simply use browsers for the most time. And so we had to create a tool that would work on the web. You might ask, okay, we have WebTrans, our web editor, so why not use that? Well, the matter of fact is that WebTrans is designed for linguists, and in-country reviewers or subject matter experts are no linguists at all, which means that WebTrans is way too complicated for them. And you either need to provide training for these in-country reviewers to use WebTrans, or you need to hack the system somehow, but then we go back to item number 1, which means extra work for PMs. So the new tool also had to be simpler than WebTrans and very easy to use for these non-linguist users. So what we did in figuring out what to do, how to do, and what exactly our users needed, not what they wanted, but what they needed, because we wanted to understand their problems first, was what we call iterative product development, or we also call it dual-track agile. It's called dual-track agile because we conduct 2 things in parallel. We discover our users' problems and needs, and then we provide solutions, we deliver solutions to them to fix those needs. And at the same time, we also learn from their feedback. We reset, we learn some new things, we build once again, measure our results, and then ideate some more, discover some more, conduct more user interviews, and then we build a different version, a new version, which hopefully delivers something meaningful to our users. And this is crucial. As you will see, over the past year, we've had quite a journey with the in-country review tool. We basically worked hard to deliver every time with every single version where in-country review appeared, something new, something valuable to our customers that could be used basically or provide an end-to-end solution to specific areas like QA or commenting or editing. So let's take a look at this journey. As you can see, last year during memoQ Fest 2023 in June, you were only familiar with memoQ 10.1, which was the very first version of the in-country review tool. It was highly limited from the user perspective, but it did introduce a ton of new things. Exclusive user group for in-country reviewers, this custom configuration for project managers, basically creating custom settings, how and under what circumstances in-country reviewers can use the tool and what they can see. With all these custom settings, even defining what resources they had access to. and even heartfelt message from the project manager to the in-country reviewer before they started their project. We also had some new stuff, really cool UX, user onboarding, welcome screen, reference files to download, and also the much coveted dark mode. Yeah. But the first iteration, like I said, was highly limited. We only provided terms and comments, no QA at this time, and the users could only comment, in-country reviewers could only comment but not edit in the very first version. However, in terms of accessibility, this new technology that we introduced with in-country review, it natively supported screen readers, so it's fully accessible. No extra hack is needed as we did with WebTrans, and it's going to remain that way. So accessibility is also in the forefront of our development. So a few more months later came memoQ 10.3, and we figured that in-country reviewers deserved a hub, a central hub where they can start their journey to the individual documents. So we introduced My Review Tasks, which looks awfully similar to My Tasks, but as you can see, it's much cleaner and simpler, simply because in-country reviewers are not linguists. They don't need that much information, just the bare minimum to be able to identify the document they need to work on, at what stage the document is, deadline and size, and so on. So the editor interface had a ton of more icons on the toolbar, as you can see. Plus, we now can see some locks and also some gray and white areas. So why? Well, because now editing became an option. Well, if the project manager decided to allow the in-country reviewer to edit the document, they were still able to decide to allow only commenting. So this flexibility was still there. But the new editor interface introduced track changes, locked rows. Users could insert terms from the terms panel, and we even supported images with terms. In 10.4 came the big breakthrough for QA. We were able to implement the QA module for the in-country review tool. So for project managers, the QA section of the configuration panel was now open. They were able to identify what QA types and what QA issues in-country reviewers were warned about and what they had to fix, if they could deliver the document with certain issues or not. So basically highly customizable once again. And on the editor interface, we had this third panel on the side panel appear, the third tab, the Issues tab, showing warnings and errors and allowing the in-country reviewer to filter by different parameters, filter these issues by different parameters. We also introduced text filtering, but just very simple ones, ones that we thought, based on the interviews and constant feedback that we received from our customers, what in-country reviewers needed. Nothing fancy, no bells and whistles, just the bare minimum. And we also had now, in 10.4, the good old HTML-based preview, which really drove us developers crazy, looking at this Big Mac every single day. So that was very cruel from the design team. Now, as you can see, we are moving on to 10.5. We learned a lot of things, and as a matter of fact, at last year's memoQ Fest, we had a little demo at the end of the first day, and we learned from our customers that it would be really nice if we could combine the information coming from the terms, comments, and issues panel on a single panel, because sometimes they just want a very quick glance at what the issues are with the specific row, what they need to fix, what information they need to take into account. So that's when we introduced in 10.5 the focus on row functionality, combining terms, comments, and issues relevant to the specific row. You still had the option to switch over to comments only, covering all the comments in the document, as well as issues, to see all the issues in the document. But this was something that was really well received all throughout the community. We also learned that even though browsers natively support spell check. Our customers still wanted the good old spelling option that Hanspell provided. So we introduced the in-app spelling suggestions to allow in-country reviewers to quickly fix spelling errors. And one last thing we notably introduced in 10.5 was the jump to row functionality, allowing in-country reviewers to jump to a specific row that they remember they had to go back to and fix instead of just scrolling through a long document. So as you can see on the timeline, it was back in January 2024 when 10.5 came out, and there seems to be nothing until June 2024. It's not because we went on a vacation, or we were having a good time because we have a really good team, but still, we were working really hard to understand what our customers needed, so we conducted a ton more user interviews and testing, usability tests, and we discovered that there were some more complex user needs compared to the ones previously communicated to us. So all these major requests, needs required some major changes, and these major changes required a major version because it required breaking compatibility with the old version. So we had to wait until 11.0, which is soon to be released in the coming week or two. So look at the crystal ball, because this is what you're going to get pretty soon. So the major changes that we are introducing is that ICR configurations are now reusable, and we provide a central management interface on memoQ Web under ICR configurations, where you can create, delete, clone, whatever, these ICR configurations, and no worries, your old ICR configurations are automatically migrated once you update your memoQ TMS. We also provide advanced assignment options as requested. So distribute documents, first accept, group sourcing, all of that is now supported, allowing you to assign documents to multiple in-country reviewers. We also provide you the opportunity to change the in-country review configurations for multiple documents, which is pretty cool if you have a lot of files to take care of in one go. And this is how you can select the ICR configuration for one document or multiple documents on the web. We also allow you to do the same, even though it's a web-first feature, but you can still do the same on the desktop. But as you can see, this functionality is somewhat limited. You will not see the details until you click the blue link, and then you visit memoQ Web to check the details. So it's web first, but still, we leave the back door open so you can use the desktop client. And last but not least, ICR configurations are introduced to online or to project settings, that is project templates, and they are also added to API documentation so that our integration partners, Plunet and Flowfit, can also connect to memoQ and then provide for all the needs related to the ICR workflow. We actually finished the development work of 11.0 in early March, so we provided a very early version for beta testers. We actually sent out emails to 40+ users who were involved in the previous rounds of interviews. We also involved in this round of beta testing our integration partners so that they would have a head start to prepare for the integration. And we also conducted an online survey and received some really good feedback and also some comments and suggestions how to improve the in-country review tool. So we are still working on the improvements. memoQ 11.1 will fix some of the UX issues and some of the immediate pain points. And we also have some long-term goals to incorporate in the ICR that will come later on. So this was the first site. Let's turn over to the memoQ editor, the second site I want to show you. What is memoQ editor? Well, this is going to be the next generation of WebTrans, so to say. WebTrans is our current web editor, which is available on memoQ Web. And this is how it looks like. It's been that way for a while. And we knew that we wanted to revamp it, but we first decided to do the in-country review tool. Because from a technological point of view, the in-country review tool served as a stepping stone, or I can say that it was like a learning experience for the future development of the memoQ editor. The memoQ editor has a different target group with different needs and expectations. They are linguists, so they need more complex workflows, many more features, and a lot of other stuff that in-country reviewers will never use. So we conducted a ton of interviews, once again, to identify the issues, to define the problem space, find these pain points that our customers currently have with WebTrans. We also looked at our competitors so that we can see what they are doing better and what we are better at and what we need to fix. So we conducted low-fidelity prototype tests for a while for concept validation. And this is what we showed to our customers. As you can see, there are no specific buttons, no text whatsoever. We just tested the initial concept, what they thought about. And the initial feedback was really positive, so we went on to the development phase. This is where we are currently at. So we are building on the ICR, as I said. As you can see, there's a similar grid preview. There's a side panel, but very different content. There's also a toolbar, which is very different, once again, but there's another one. There's a menu, and there are some other ideas. For instance, we also introduced the dark mode, obviously. But as you can see, we introduced some other ideas, what we call pop-in and pop-out. You may notice at the top of the screen that there's a light blue banner that says, looking for the previous editor, switch back. The switchback option allows you to switch back to the legacy WebTrans until the new web editor, the memoQ editor, reaches a level at which we believe it can replace the old editor, the old web editor. The first version of the memoQ editor is planned to be released in late 2024. And so just to sum it up, the old new memoQ editor is all about this modern web technology that started with ICR development, brand new design concept, intuitive user interface, as you can see on the screen, and support for multiple screens, such as this. If you look at the screen, this is how it looks like when you pop out part of the screen, and you can move it to the other monitor if you want to. And like I said, accessibility is still natively supported, so no magic needed here. So this is what we are working on right now, and if you're interested, we are still outside. Yuri, head of design, and myself are still available until 6 p.m. outside in the foyer. Thank you very much, and let's see the questions. As part of the backstage tour, we unintentionally demonstrated something very typical, running out of time. But hopefully we have some minutes for some follow-up questions. So here you can see your questions. And Zsolt helped me I'm managing the questions. You can still send more, or you can check the QR code if you missed it in the beginning. And we start from the top. Please, Zsolt, read it out. Check, check. Can you hear me? Yeah. Yes. Okay, so we have a tie at the top with 9 votes. We have 2 questions. The first one, when do you imagine memoQ, where do you imagine memoQ Web compared to the desktop client 2 years from now? Who would like to take this question? Turn on your mic.
No, yes. Okay, just we don't know who asked the questions, or some, yeah, we do know. But if you want to add something to it, or it's not, you think it's not clear, then please just raise your hand, and then we will give you the mic, and you can clarify.
Okay, so who would like to take the first question? I am happy to do that, or you can add more if you want. So I really hope that from now, 2 years from now, we will have a version that will be suitable for most of the users. So we will never reach the point when everybody will be satisfied with the web version. There will be a small percent, anytime we check, who still prefer to use to the desktop. However, 2 years from now, I think the majority of the users will be able to work only on the web.
The next question is, when we'll be able to work on multiple open local projects simultaneously?
Well, that's a difficult question because now, as you see, the focus is on the web. And I know that some of you are very eager to have that feature, but it's we have dealt with it last year, and it requires so much energy, so much effort and implementation working hours and resources that is just not on the roadmap right now. I cannot tell right now when and how it will get into the roadmap, so I won't suggest anything in this term. I can just tell you right now that it is not on the roadmap. I'm sorry.
Okay, the next question is, what are the plans about Q-term rework? When will be the guest access available again? As far as the Q-term rework, it's on the roadmap. Depends which team is going to work on. If it's my team, then it will have to wait until we complete the memoQ editor, and then we can start working on that. I cannot really give you an exact date, but I can assure you that it's still on the horizon. As far as when will be the guest access available again, this is a controversial issue, so please submit your arguments on the IDEA portal, because there are pros and cons of this guest access, and it was removed for a reason. All right, the next one is, do you have any updates about the Training for Trainers program? Anna?
So yes, we will replace the Train the Trainer program with some power user courses on memoQ Academy that will deliver power user certificates and badges. So it's in the making, it's coming. And there is another question for me regarding the university program and how the student discount will work from now on with the subscription. And basically, we will not give perpetual licenses to students anymore. They will have a big discount on an annual subscription.
No? Next question is, where can telemetry be turned on? Arpi?
I am not turned on. Okay, so you can turn on telemetry during the installation of the client and the server itself. Server administrator can turn on the function for all of the server users regarding the server-side functionality. Clients need to be turned on it individually. And inside the settings page, you can find out how can you turn it on if you missed it during the installation.
Thank you. Next one, are there any plans to implement AI features in Q-term? For example, to speed up term extraction process. As you have heard just a minute ago, Q-term revamp is on the horizon. So if we know that we are going to revamp something, we know that we're not going to implement something major to the old software. So I don't think that's in the near future, but I'm pretty sure that the new Q-term will have this functionality. Okay, the question is, how much time do we have left for questions, because we still have some.
I can see Shani. It's a good sign to continue.
As long as you can survive, or
yeah, dinner is at what?
I think 5 more minutes. 5
so
more minutes. 5 more minutes, maybe you can survive 5 more minutes.
Okay, you currently run a university partner program which offers discounts to students buying a perpetual license.
Anna has just answered this one.
How will the subscription model fit you? Okay. All right. Will memoQ be available on Mac?
Yes, as a web interface.
Thank you. Okay, we have a TM Plus question. Do you have statistics on the percentage of customers who have already switched to TM Plus? Have all reported issues related to TM Plus been fixed?
So from 10.6, we have telemetry to see the number of TMs which are being created and what is the type of them. And 1/3 of them are TM Plus already, but only from 10.6 we have this data. So that's only what I can say. And about the TM Plus issues, we have fixed many of them, and only minor ones are left. And there was something with tag-related ones, but that will be also released in the next release. All the major ones are fixed. And just one more thing, that thousands of installations have been done with TM Plus. So the number of TM Plus issues are very, the number of them is very small compared to how many installations and how many TM Plus have been created.
Thank you, Adam. The next question, is this something that Anna would like to answer again, or Peter? Okay, so the question is...
First, I'd like to thank this person for paying the support subscription. It's greatly appreciated. What often happens with translator licenses is you buy a perpetual license and then come back 4 years later and we have to figure out what the maintenance is in order to figure it all out. For those people, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to move to subscription, and subscription is going to be the default way. For anybody who has got a perpetual license and continued buying subscription, thank you. And there's no reason to go to subscription if you're paying the support. We're not going to change that. Thank you.
We have 3 more questions on the screen. All of them are addressed to Adam, I believe. So the first one is about the 50% match rate for AGT. I'll pass the mic on to Madam.
I don't know exactly what was in Gabor's mind when he designed this feature, but today we have data. The data set what Gabor presented earlier also covered a research where we examined the correlation between the TM match rate and the quality gain as the AGT works. And yes, there is a very strong correlation between the match rate and the quality gains. So the better TM match rate you are inserting or letting AGT use, the better the quality is. There is no wonder. And actually, what I have seen in this data, and please Gabor, correct me if I'm wrong, that basically this gain is really diminishing at the 50s. So below that, there is no actual real gain. What's interesting that we are also doing some kind of experiment, but this is really about the future, how we can generate synthetic matches for those segments where we don't really have good TM matches, but this is really about the future. And we have some promising results over there, but there's also some technological limitations. So, and I really don't want to paint some very pinkish picture over here about what is possible. How AI can estimate an AI output? So, yeah, that's a good question. Basically, by default, what we are seeing over here, that there is an engine, a machine translation AI, that has been trained to provide translations, and it is good in doing it so. Sometimes not so good, sometimes it is good. Most of the time people find it useful that machine translation engine is doing. What the quality estimation engines are doing, these are similar technologies, but this is trained to provide the quality estimation. And this is the same technology, but with a different data set, and basically it is targeting to provide such metrics. What we see is that there is a correlation. It is provenly capable of doing it so. Basically, you can train an AI engine for different tasks, and it is capable of doing it so.
Thank you. Shonyi appeared in the meantime, so I'm afraid this is the end of the questions. But you can reach out us during today and the following day. So please give us even more questions, and we are really happy to answer that. Thank you very much.